Shotgun to Allen on second down. Takes up off the middle. Has some space at the 10. Pump fakes at the 5. Cuts back to his left. Touchdown, Buffalo! A designed run for Josh Allen. They've been calling for it, and he just ran it to perfection. First and goal from the 3. Mayfield the shotgun. Play action. Pump fakes. Throws over the middle. And it's snatched out of the air for a touchdown for the Bucs. Chris Godwin had a defender on his back, 6 yards in the back of the end zone, and he reached around him, pulled it to his body for a Buccaneers touchdown. Very quiet in this building. I know the offense is on the field, but it's quieter than normal. Shotgun to Allen on 3rd and 11. Racing out to the right. Throws across his body. Caught by the King to 10. Heads upfield 5. Touchdown Bills. And Allen found the rookie tight end for a 21-yard touchdown pass. Now they send Deontay Hardy in motion to the right. Allen back to throw. Looking. Pumps. Throws. Wide open. Davis streaking in the back of the end zone. Touchdown Buffalo. And the Bills, with 10:40 to go in the 3rd, take the opening drive of the second half and go up 23-10. They're rushing 4. Mayfield, this is the final play of the game. Dancing up in the pocket. Here's the heave. Down to the end zone. It's in the air. It's in the end zone. And it falls to the turf. And the Bills at home to start week 8 escape with a 24-18 win at home over the Buccaneers.
Good morning, Kansas City. This is the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's Friday, October 27th, 2023. Stephen St. John, Nate Bukaty, and Marco Marquez on this Friday. Wet Friday morning. We'll talk to Stan Weber via the telephone at 7 o'clock. Then we'll have an abbreviated Border Patrol Blitz, no Mizzou, because they're off this week. So we'll talk to John Kirby about KU and Matt Walters about K-State. Dion Clisso will preview the Friday night in college or in high school football. Dion Clisso from Preps KC. Kevin Wins will have his picks at around 8:50, and then Tim Grunhard in the 9 o'clock hour to talk Chiefs and Broncos and the rest of the NFL. Last night in the NFL, you heard some highlights there from the Buffalo Bills as they did escape with a victory over Tampa, 24-18. So now the Bills are 5-3, and the Bucs are 3-4, and that was pretty interesting or pretty dramatic. Hail Mary attempt at the end as Baker Mayfield heaved the ball into the end zone, and it was there for Chris Godwin to catch. I just don't think he saw the football, but boy, would that have been something else. Down 6. If the Bucs would have completed that Hail Mary to break the Bills' hearts. But it was not to be, as Buffalo gets back on track and beats the Buccaneers 24-18. Although not in, hey, look, a win's a win. I guess I should remind myself of what I say after the Chiefs have a close win against maybe an average team or slightly above or below average team. At the end of the game, it doesn't matter how it looked. It matters only if you win. And Buffalo won against Tampa 24-18. So they still look like they got some issues. And they're still a really good team. I think they're a playoff team. But it remains to be seen what they do with the rest of their season and if they truly still are Super Bowl contenders. They still haven't gotten to the Super Bowl since the 90s, so we'll see. We'll see if that window's still open. I think it probably is, but the task ahead of them a little bit tougher than it had been a few years ago. So, but look, they're 5-3, and they win last night on Thursday Night Football, 24-18. As I mentioned, Mizzou is off, and so they get the benefit of the bye week to sit back and watch the rest of college football have at it, and that includes their future opponent, a couple of future opponents in Georgia and Florida. So we can sit back and watch Georgia tomorrow to see if they get beat up against Florida, or if they have a physical game, or if it's a laugh or whatever. I don't know. and Florida comes to Mizzou in a couple of weeks. And so Georgia right now, number 1, 7-0. We'll find out if they're still undefeated next week when they host Mizzou in Athens. The 2:30 game on CBS. Tomorrow also the 2:30 game on CBS as they play Florida in Jacksonville before they host Mizzou next week. As far as the Big 12, you've got Kansas State, which should be a win at home against Houston. That's an 11 a.m. kickoff on ESPN2. And the big game of the week between the 3 local schools, it's Kansas as they host Oklahoma, undefeated Oklahoma, 7-0, number 6 in the nation. And that's also an 11 a.m. kickoff on Fox. And you're going?
Heading up there. Got the secured the tickets yesterday. And, taking Kelly and Ben and Ophi. Young Andy's going to stay home with Grandpa. So hopefully he learns some new language, some new words, maybe, while Papa's taking care of him.
Who ended up giving you the tickets?
I got him through the Jayhawk Sports Network. Chad Boger with the assist. So.
You had a lot of people offering.
Had a few. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. But a lot of pairs, which is, not to look a gift horse in the mouth, but
Not enough for Nate. Don't offer him 2 tickets.
Well, I wanted to sit with my daughter and my son. The whole reason this last game I went to, the BYU game, my wife and I went with one of my best friends from college and his wife. This time I really wanted to take the kids up there. I want to start showing them around Lawrence a little bit. I feel like I've not done a great job of taking my kids up to Lawrence and showing them the old stomping ground, so to speak. I used to do that all the time when I worked for the Jayhawk Sports Network myself, but that was 8 years ago now, which is hard to believe. So my kids don't really remember it very much. So I'm excited to get them up on campus. College game day on campus, whatever your campus is, it's tough to beat. College football is special that way. So I'm excited. Early day, obviously, we're heading up pretty early, and I think it's going to be pretty cold.
You can try to be part of that big noon kickoff?
I don't know that we'll be able to get there that early, but we'll try. We'll try. My son's got a soccer game in the morning, so
what?
Yeah, so we're going to be leaving straight from the soccer game to head up there. We'll definitely get there in time for kickoff. I don't know how much pregame.
What time is that soccer game?
It's at 8 a.m.
Who's responsible for that?
Scheduling it or not me, I'll tell you that much. Definitely not my 13-year-old. He does not exactly like waking up that
Why
early
do they
on
do
a
that?
Saturday. Well, there's time, a lot of games to squeeze in, I guess, youth sports these days. Get these kids up at 10:30 at night playing games.
Really?
Oh, yeah, that happens. We're trying to be a little more reasonable about it, but he'll be able to. It's his only game this weekend, so he'll be all right.
Right.
It's going to be a little chilly, I think, tomorrow, though. The temperature's supposed to drop quite a bit.
What's the forecast for Lawrence for the game?
Well, last I saw, that the high was in like the upper 40s. So at 11 a.m., I think it's still going to be in the low 40s, if not lower. There is a chance for rain. That's the only part my wife said. I'm not sitting out in the rain.
Why not?
She'll sit in the cold, but
that's
not
part
the
of the
rain.
football.
Well,
You're looking around 40 degrees at kickoff tomorrow.
That's not so bad. I don't mind 40 degrees. Bundle up a little bit. That's football weather.
Is it supposed to rain? Because I've had enough of it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. I think there's a chance. But I don't know, like, from hour to hour what time. My wife said she saw something yesterday, said the rain's supposed to start around noon.
Oh.
But I don't know if they can get that accurate. I was thinking we should have reached out to Gary, maybe place a little martini bet on this. Not that he ever pays.
Well, I'm sure that we can because he's been posting on social media about the snow that's coming to Colorado.
Oh, okay.
So he's all wired up.
Yeah. Maybe a little forecast from Gary at some point and a little bet on the Oklahoma KU game. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, yeah. Text him.
Okay. Think he's awake? What time is it? 5:10 a.m.
He's been up. He's gallivanting all over Colorado with the snow and the weather. This is what he lives for. This is why he went out there. More weather events.
Yeah.
And so if he's gonna move and he's gonna go out somewhere for more weather events, and then he's sleeping in during these weather events, then what the hell did he move for?
So there's an event of snow out there. It's a big snow event.
That's what he calls weather events.
Yeah.
You know, snow or anything that's not normal. That's why he left.
Right.
The weather in Kansas City apparently wasn't exciting
Too
enough
boring
for him. So he might be up right now.
Well, I just texted him, so we'll see what he says. Yeah. I'm excited to go up there. I'm excited to take the kids. I hope it's a good competitive game. I'm optimistic the Jayhawks can be competitive in this one, give themselves a chance, maybe win the turnover battle. You know. Looking at the schedule for a while there, seeing the next few wins wasn't so hard, but honestly, like Iowa State's looking better.
Right.
K-State's looking better. I don't know about Cincinnati and Texas Tech quite yet, but
I don't think Cincinnati's very good. Texas Tech give you problems,
Yeah.
but you're better than Texas Tech.
yeah. So, KU still got to win a game to get to bowl eligibility. So,
Oh, they'll do that. I mean,
I sure think so. I mean, I'm confident, but it'd be nice to get that out of the way with a big upset win over Todd Lebo's Sooners. He's gonna be parading all over Lawrence.
what's your confidence level that they could pull the upset?
I give it a 3.5,
Out of what?
10, right? Like
Well,
35%.
That's not
35%'s not high.
very high. I don't know. I mean,
9-point dogs. I don't know.
when's the last time it's been the line's been that
Oh man.
small against Oklahoma?
No, I don't know. A long time. Long time. Like I've said a couple times on the show this week, I was in college the last time KU won against Oklahoma, and it was actually in Oklahoma. I didn't get to watch the game because I was doing a Baker University game with my professor Tom Hedrick in Baldwin, Kansas.
When's the last time that Oklahoma came to Lawrence and you thought that KU might actually win? That they had a reasonable chance to win?
Oh man.
Oh, Marco's going to say something.
When they opened up the gates for the students.
No, like
the year-
but going into the game.
Oh, damn.
But that was like but like going into the game when you thought, you know what?
Yeah.
They got a real shot at this.
I was at the game they won in I want to say it was 1993. KU won against Oklahoma at home. Monty Cousins had a big touchdown run where he reached across the pylon, like right at the goal line. I was in high school at that time. That was the Glenn Mason era. I don't remember. Well, you know what? KU played Oklahoma at Arrowhead Stadium in what year would that have been? 2005. I was dating. My wife and I were dating because we went to.
Were you?
Yeah.
Is your wife?
Yes.
When did you get married?
2007.
Okay.
Yeah, we met April 15th, 2004.
Why do I have no recollection of KU and Oklahoma at Arrowhead?
KU had no offense. They had Nick Reed leading the way on defense. He was the Big 12 Player of the Year, and they were really good defensively. And they stopped Oklahoma all game, but they couldn't move the ball at all. So they lost. But it was like a close game because the defense kept them in it the whole time. That's probably the last time.
Is that Mangino?
Yeah, it was Mangino,
Okay.
and I remember Nick Reed said after the game that he wanted to go to the offensive side of the locker room and punch all of the guys in the face.
Wow.
So,
Oklahoma knocked off KU on October 15, 2005, 19-3 at Arrowhead.
yeah, so
Exciting game.
I remember at the time because
No recollection of that.
yeah, I just remember it because my wife had been invited to be in something called BOTAR, Bells of the American Royal, which is a fancy cotillion ball.
Okay.
And so I went to it, and I was angry the whole time because I wanted to be at the KU Oklahoma game.
Marco, you ever been to Botar?
No, Botox, though, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, same,
Yeah.
similar. A lot of crossover there.
Yeah. You got something smart ass to say about that?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
All right.
It was a great time.
Tomorrow, while you're doing all that, I'll be out at Arrowhead. And no, I'm not a moron. I'm not looking for a Chiefs game. I realize they're playing in Denver this weekend. But on Saturday, I will be at the 29th annual Step Up for Down Syndrome Walk at the Arrowhead Stadium parking lot. It's one of my favorite events of the year, and I have emceed that event for. This is where age comes in. I don't know. Like I feel like a decade. Could it be more? I guess it could be, but it's a really great event, and what they have me out there for, and they have all. It's like it's almost more like a fall festival, right? Mm-hmm. Where they got different rides and and the inflatables and the bounce houses and things like that for kids, and then they always have a whole bunch of food and drinks and fun, but then all the teams line up for the walk, and I mean, teams for as far as the eye can see get lined up, right? And they and you're talking about family members and friends and walk teams, and they're all really super creative and come up with these big giant banners with the name of their walk teams, with pictures of kids and different people that they're celebrating. And so this all started is I don't hide the fact that I'm not comfortable with heights. I'm not.
I remember this.
Little shaky, and so they put me up in a like in a scissor lift. Is that
like a cherry picker?
Yeah, whatever, I guess. And so they put me up there and high enough to where I could have a good view of all the teams, and so they put me up in the air, and as the teams walk by the start line, I'll announce the team names.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like here's an example. Like, here comes Miles for Morty, and then everyone goes screams, and Morty's going crazy. And we're talking about a lot of teams.
Oh yeah, I've been there with you.
But like the coolest thing is to see the different kids' reactions when they hear their names called, and just jumping up and down and going crazy. And there's always a DJ out there, and there's dancing and fun. And so it's a very feel-good event. And so I'm happy that they keep asking me to come out there and celebrate with them. And there's so many wonderful teams and people that raise money, but most importantly, get out there and have fun,
Mm-hmm.
And so then there's kids I've seen there, I mean, for like a decade, and every year, time goes by so fast, but it sure is a lot of fun. And so, it's tomorrow from 10 until 2, and then I think, we towards the end of that's when we start the walk. My duties usually start around 1, but we get there early and have some fun with the DJ and whatever else.
It's a really uplifting event. I remember a family friend of ours had a child with Down syndrome. One of the early years when you were doing this, and I got to witness you up on the scissor lift doing your thing. But
it doesn't bother me as much now.
Yeah.
But there were some.
Yeah.
There was some windy step up walks that I was very unsure of my place up there.
Well, hopefully it's not too windy this weekend.
And then last year I couldn't go up all the way because I just had back surgery. And so I think Sue was with me and like one of the kids, and they just basically they're kind of holding me in place just a little bit, elevated just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we didn't need me to fall off that thing or have any issues.
No. Well, the family friend of ours who they had a child with Down syndrome at that time, so we all came out to the walk, and I remember the dad telling me, that was like the best day of his life and the worst day of his life all wrapped into one. When you are having a child, especially if it's your first child and you don't know what to expect and all that, all you're hoping for is a healthy baby, and you get the news that your child has Down syndrome and all these things that you maybe hadn't anticipated are put right in front of you. That are going to affect you for the rest of your life. And the best part is the resources that people have immediately to them because of events like this that make you realize, okay, we're not going to do this on our own. We got help. We have resources. And this is going to be okay.
Here comes Jelly Bean's basket. There's another. Eli smiles.
Yeah.
I just saw some of the teams on the website. You can go to stepupwalk.org if you just want to donate, even if you don't come out there.
Very positive event. Very positive event.
Oh, hey, that's the truth.
I mean, it's really cool to see.
If you don't leave there with a smile on your face, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, you're probably not smiling.
But we
much.
have a blast, so I'm looking for, and usually it's free hot dogs. So
Well,
I'm easily motivated.
hello.
I'm easily motivated. So yeah. What do they give you for doing this? Hot dogs. All right then. You know what? They give me for doing that? Smiles.
Smiles. And
Seeing the kids happy.
a warm heart.
You know, and a few hugs. I'm a hug guy.
I am too.
I like hugs.
Yeah.
So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll listen to who did you talk to?
Sasha Kleshin, one of the all-time great mid.
Say that again slower.
Sasha
Sasha
Kleshin.
Question.
Yeah. He one of the great.
Did you ask him a question?
Hey, Sasha Kleshin. Questions for Kleshin.
Yeah, that could be a segment.
Man, can't believe we didn't think of that already. Yeah. Well, that's why we have you around.
So who is he for people that are unaware?
He's one of the great midfielders in American soccer history / MLS history. He does the studio show for MLS 360. And so he joined me and Ali Trost Martin on a special edition of the Sporting KC show because starting Sunday night, Sporting KC opens up a 3-game series with the hated St. Louis City SC, their big new rival, who are the big top dog #1 seed in the Western Conference. And so big 3-game series coming up. So we talked with Sasha a little bit. Thought we'd maybe play a little bit of that interview for you.
Well, Todd couldn't wait to text. 19-3, oh, you win.
You know, here's a memory for you from KU, Oklahoma. My last game.
We ask him anything else, or we need help with anything else during the 6 o'clock hour. No response.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing from
If
him.
he wants to remind us of an Oklahoma win immediately with facts and figures, go ahead.
The last game I worked as the sideline reporter for KU football because I knew I was going to take the Sporting Kansas City job. I knew it was my last game. Was in a freezing cold, rainy day in Norman, Oklahoma, in which the Sooners won 44-7. KU was being coached by interim coach Clint Bowen.
Not Charlie Bowen.
Well, Charlie was
What
his
he
brother.
doing?
That was his brother.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember who he was filling in for at that time. I think that was post Charlie Weiss, post Dave Beatty. I can't remember. Anyway, he was the interim coach. What I do remember is Samaje Perine. Listen to these numbers.
Yeah.
Samaje Perine ran the ball 34 times for 427 yards and 5 touchdowns.
What's the problem?
Well, I think that was an NCAA record. I believe that was the all-time record for yards in a game rushing, and it was the slowest torture ever while I stood in the freezing rain, and my Orange Bowl rain jacket that I had worn was like cheap and decayed and didn't keep me dry. So I was soaking wet, standing there for 4.5 hours while they just handed the ball to Samaje Perine, and he ran for 7 yards. Over and over and over and over and over.
Now who's he play
and
for?
over again. Well, I believe he plays for the Broncos.
Who the Chiefs play on
Well,
Sunday?
they play the Broncos.
Boom.
He's not going to have that kind of day against the
Boom.
Chiefs.
Now see how your story comes full circle?
Full circle.
You meant to do that.
I don't even
Right.
have to try.
All of his stories have a point. We'll be back after
Do
this
they?
on WHP. Tell us what we're going to hear right now.
By the way, got a response from Gary Lezak. He says, yes, I will be awake by 7:30 your time. I have a meeting at 9 o'clock your time. So he's not awake, but he's responding to text messages.
Well, then he is awake.
Not fully awake, maybe. I don't know. He says he'll be awake at 7:30 if we want to try to squeeze him in at some point. I don't know.
After we talk to Stan, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Stealing
8 o'clock
Stan's
hour.
minutes?
Yeah. Well, yesterday, Allie Trost Martin and I had a chance to talk with former U.S. men's national team midfielder Sasha
Her
Kleshtin.
initials are ATM.
ATM, because she's money.
That's good.
Isn't that cool?
Does she use that?
Yes.
Okay.
ATM. Cash money. And she'll be on the call of the Sporting KC versus St. Louis game on Sunday. And she and I talked with Sasha about Sporting Kansas City's chance to play the role of the upset makers in the playoff. The Cinderella Sporting Kansas City side, after a terrible start to the season, they're here in the playoffs with a chance to make some noise.
I mean, this has been a mind-boggling season for Sporting Kansas City. I don't remember exactly where I had them in the preseason, if it was 1, 2, or 3 in the West, but I had them as a top 3 team in the West. And after 10 games, I got to be honest, I was one of the guys that was questioning whether Peter Vermees deserved to continue have his job. I know he had built up a lot of credit over the past decade, but it was looking bad. Let's be honest. 10 games, 3 points, no wins. No one was scoring goals. It was not looking good in Kansas City. So I've got to really tip my cap to Peter Vermees, because I think he always is willing to adapt. He's always willing to stay young and with his guys. And I almost feel bad for questioning Peter, because in that moment he stood strong. He brought his team back. And then it sets up so great now for this playoff series with St. Louis.
And speaking of that best-of-3 series, which starts on the road at City Park, I mean, these are two teams that have already played each other 3 times this season. Daniel Shalhoub had a quote after the game on Wednesday. St. Louis got the better of us in the first best-of-3. You know, let's see who's got the second one. Two teams now that have gotten familiar with one another. The rivalry off the field has been red hot between the fans. Sporting, though, have not done well at City Park. For you, what do they need to change to try and frustrate a St. Louis team that has defied all the odds this season in their first year as an expansion club, but have also made it really difficult for teams at City Park?
You know, it's interesting because St. Louis really dominated both games at City Park, and I wonder if Peter Vermees can change a little, just make a little bit of a change and almost let St. Louis have the ball a little bit more in the first game in St. Louis, and maybe try to play Make St. Louis make the game, right? That's not their game. They're better playing against the ball, pressing the ball, winning the ball high, going straight to goal. And when you have a team like that who's not used to having more possession, sometimes they are the ones who cough up the ball and leave open spaces for Sporting to counterattack into, which is not Sporting KC's MO. Peter Vermees wants to play in the expansive 4-3-3, make the field wide, and all that, but I wonder if he needs to throw a little bit of a wrinkle into these playoff matchups.
Yeah, a little pragmatism over principle would make a lot of sense, I think, in this game, especially considering the way those first 2 games went. And Sasha, I'm curious to get your perspective as a guy who's been through these types of situations physically yourself. We're here marveling at the performance of Johnny Russell, playing with a groin injury on decision day, having the best game that he's had maybe of the year, and then having to turn around 4 days later on short rest and do it in a playoff game. And now he's got to do it on short rest a third straight time, as does the whole team, you know, after playing a hard-fought game against San Jose. Does that stuff, I mean, I guess the counter could be, hey, it's the playoffs now, and everybody's going to be digging deep and giving it their all, and adrenaline can get you through it. Or do you think that does have a real effect on this game, especially against a team that does play with such intensity like St. Louis?
You know, I'm very 50-50 on that, because I've always been very hard on the players that say, oh, we play too many games or the schedule is too crowded. Like, I hate that. It's just excuses. I as a player, wanted to be playing every 3 days for the entire season. because it's better than training. It's better to be out there in front of your fans. You feed off the adrenaline. Now, mentally is where it starts to take a bit of a taxing turn. Because, yes, physically we are going to get tired, but mentally you have to push through. And you have to keep pushing on, especially in the playoffs where everybody's been playing over the course of an entire season. And now this is the spot you put yourself in, Kansas City, that you have to play on short rest. So it is what it is. I don't want to hear anything about excuses about, oh, we had to play on short rest or there's no excuses in the playoffs. It's get the job done.
And, beyond just the physical wear and tear and the mental side, that's an important part to bring up that you just highlighted as well. Momentum plays a huge part, right? It's easy to push through when things just feel fun and free-flowing and you're getting that reward of winning big games. And for Sporting, for example, making the postseason when it didn't seem all that possible. St. Louis, on the other hand, they locked this thing up first of any team in the West. They've comfortably been sitting at the top. But in their last two games before the season has come to an end, a 3-0 loss against Vancouver on October 4th and a 2-0 loss against the Seattle Sounders on decision day. So 5-0 combined scoreline between those two games. And now their first match coming out of those two losses will be against Sporting in this first game. The last game that they did win was against Sporting on their home field. How much does momentum play into this thing, and do you think that really gives Sporting an advantage, or does the postseason just kind of change that whole thing and flip it on its head?
Momentum plays a huge part. You spelled it out perfectly. St. Louis is coming off a couple of bad performances, and Kansas City is coming in riding a high. So I think that evens the scales a bit, whereas if these teams had been going into the playoffs 2 months ago, you'd be saying, yeah, St. Louis is the number one team in the West, and Kansas City's been fighting their way back. But nowadays, it's a different story, and that has evened the scales for me. I still think I would give the slight edge to St. Louis, just barely, though. But I do think about penalties, and I think about penalty shootouts, and Tim Malia 7-0 now in penalty shootouts. So
Crazy.
I think especially in this first game, if Kansas City can keep the game tight, keep it 0-0 as long as possible, and with this straight to penalty shootout, you got to say that Kansas City has the edge.
Sasha, when you bring up Tim Melia and penalties, we obviously spent a lot of our first segment of this show just talking about the same thing. Even here in Kansas City, we continue to marvel at the incredible job that he does. And I want to get the player's perspective because he won't give us anything. Whenever, he's one of those guys that after the game, he's saying, well, you should be talking to the guys that actually converted their penalties. I didn't have anything to do all game. You should be talking to my back line. He gives all the credit to his goalkeeper coach, Alec Duffy, for getting him prepared. But there is a knack that he seems to have for, quote unquote, guessing the right way more often than anybody I've seen. And I'm like, Is it his ability to read tells from guys? Is it an instinct? Do you have any theories on how he's able to guess correctly so often?
No, he's definitely, I think, doing his homework, and it's not luck, let's be honest. Over the course of a career, doing so well on penalty kicks, it's not luck. So him and Nick Raimondo are the two players that I can remember that have been very good on penalty kicks, and that everybody knows it, so that throws a fear into the penalty takers as well. And the penalties, like I would know going in, and I was the penalty taker for the last 6-7 years of my career, and I studied the goalies who I was going to be shooting against that day, and I would make up my mind as to where I was going to shoot and not try to change my mind so that I was focused on myself and not thinking about, oh man, I'm going against a good goalkeeper, or I've missed one against this goalkeeper before. So he's done his homework, and I think when he's retired, like Nick Raimondo, after he retired, he kind of let out his secrets. I'd be interested to hear from Tim Melia after he retires if he can share his secrets.
Welcome back to the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The coordinators spoke yesterday. Let's hear some of their comments, if you please. We'll start off with assistant head coach and special teams coordinator Dave Toub. We remember the 50-yard punt return by Mecole Hardman, and then Hardman, after the game, said that Toub jumped his ass for not fielding a punt earlier that put the Chiefs in bad field position. And so here Dave Toub was asked if he said anything to Mecole Hardman before the big 50-yard punt return.
Just talked to him on the sideline about it, particularly I guess it was the third to last one where we had big field. We had defense stay out there, and he bombed one. He just stayed on the 20 instead of going back and getting it. We talked about that one. And then the funny thing was the long one that he got was the same exact punt. So he went and got that one, and then obviously it paid off. So
there can be a little rust in that, right? Because he just haven't done it in a while.
Yeah, that's why I'm chalking it up to. I mean, he's, it's good to have him back. He's got a lot of juice out there. He's got some, obviously a little bit more speed than we've had, and he's got a lot of experience back there. But he hadn't been doing it. I mean, he's probably done it in practice at the Jets. I mean, he told me he did, but we haven't seen it. But he got better as the game went on. Got used to it a little bit more. Seen how we're blocking people up, and obviously. It was a big return for us and a good time.
What about Tony in that role?
Yeah, Tony he's a guy that practices and does it. And
well, why not? I mean, what?
Why not?
Yeah.
I just think that Andy wants to keep him, on the offensive side. He wants him, he's a specialty guy for him, and that's, he's a guy that he's our next guy that goes, obviously, and then Sky Moore's in the mix too.
All right, so there's a little bit from Dave Toub about Mecole Hardman and that big punt return. Let's move on to defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. And this is one of the big topics going into this game and going into the next couple of months. It's Drue Tranquill replacing an injured Nick Bolton. So Spags was asked how comfortable he is with Tranquill replacing Bolton.
We've played a couple of games. I want to say it's a total of 3, right, without Nick so far. And Drew's been in there, and the guys have felt Drue in front of the huddle and all week long, obviously. I think there's a comfort level with the other 10 with Drue in there now, having done it. I think they felt that way when Nick went down the first time. But it's nice to know we have a guy that can fit in there and not skip a beat. And I mean, I said this before, I never felt like we had to cut things back when Drue took over in those 3 games Nick was gone, and feel the same way now. So hopefully we can keep tracking upward.
All right, here's more from Spags. He was asked about these two teams. It is, once again, odd that they're playing 2 times in just about 3 weeks. And Spags was asked about the difference between 2 weeks between meetings as opposed to a couple of months.
Well, I mean, the one thing with 2 months is there's a chunk of different film, and maybe the unit you're going against has changed. They've had injuries, and with 1 game in between, it looks similar. I mean, they played really well against Green Bay. They ran the ball really well. I mean, I think they're running the ball really good now with those 2 backs, especially. Maybe the one thing we feel is the individual staff meetings that we have situationally. At one point you're doing first and second down, then you're doing third down. They seem to go a little quicker because it was 2 weeks ago and there's only 1 new film in there on our own. So from that regard, maybe I get home a half hour earlier tonight. I mean, we try to do that anyway.
All right, now let's hear Spags talk about the new addition of Charles Omenihu and what he's brought to the defense.
It's nice to have a guy back there with that length. That was a huge play that he made. It was a 3rd down in the red zone, right? 4-point play. It turned into a 7-point play because we picked it off. But no, he was some juice for us, and hopefully each week we can stack some more things on there for him. But it was nice to see him come in 1 week and just get plugged in and make some plays. I was happy for him.
Move up to number 9. We talked about, and I talked about this with Mike Dana after the game on Sunday, how nice it is for the Chiefs to have that 3rd down rush package that includes Mike Dana and Charles Omenihu and Chris Jones and George Karlaftis all on the field together. Here's what Steve Spagnuolo said about that third down rush package.
What's really good about that, I mean, all four of those guys, George doesn't go inside as much, but all four of those guys can go inside. All four of them can go outside. That's the luxury. And the pressure you put on them is to mentally know, as a player, all four of those spots, as opposed to, you're the right end, you're the left end, you're the right tackle, you're the left tackle, here are the calls, know that spot. These guys have done a good job at knowing. And so if Chris wants to get on a guard, then somebody that's going out on a tackle knows how to do it. So that's pretty important. And so that's the intelligence of those guys that I would give a good.
What are the benefits of having that, besides just the matchup? Get maybe a matchup you want. What's the benefit of having
that matchup's one of the bigger ones. In teams not getting the beat on where somebody's going to be. I mean, let's face it. Most teams that we play are going to try to find a way to get 4 hands on Chris and not 2. And if they knew he was always going to be the right tackle, it'd be a little bit easier. But not knowing where he is, they've got to do some things. Like they may have to move something, bring the tight end over here. So hopefully it gives them a little bit more thinking.
I move up to number 11. I mentioned Mike Dana, and he's having a really good season. And so Spags was asked about his improvement this year.
When he came back here right from the beginning, I thought he was more powerful, and he trained. If you talk to him, I know he trained exceptionally hard in this offseason. He looked different to me when he came back, and he's kind of on a mission, and he's been on a mission, and that's what I love about Mike. Mike's I hope people talk more and more about him. He's been a real valuable asset for us. I always tell him he's got natural leverage, and in this game it's all about leverage, and he's really powerful from the waist down. He's a good football player.
His career high is 5 sacks. That was last year. You know what he's on pace for?
9 sacks.
11. He's got 4.5 right now. Career high is 5. He's got 4.5. He's on pace for 11. Why doesn't that impress you?
I've been impressed. I feel like we've been talking about Mike Dana for a while because it was funny because when
Spags wants you to talk about him more.
Well, rightfully so. It kind of made me think, it's like, how long can you call someone underrated? How many times can you call someone underrated before everybody,
4.
He's not underrated. Okay, well, I think we've done that.
Right.
I don't know that Mike Dana is underrated by us anymore. I think we've valued him for some time. He showed a lot last year. And
he won't be underrated if he pops off with double-digit sacks this year.
And he's going to price himself right out of the market.
What?
But he's been very good.
No, he's
very good.
That's a good point. He's making money right now.
Yeah. Dude, I think that the collective nature of that pass rush is the most impressive part of it. Obviously, Chris Jones is the most disruptive of all of them. But this year what you're seeing is when he disrupts a play, there's another guy right there to finish off the sack. It felt like there's a lot of times in Chris Jones' career, he'd get up, flush the quarterback, and then there's nobody else to help out.
Should I say something that nobody cares about, really?
Yes.
Except us?
Of course.
He is, and at the end of the day, again, it doesn't matter. Like when we go in the locker room, it's our job to try to talk to as many players as possible, get as many quotes and comments for you as possible to play after the game, after a practice, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is arguably one of, if not the nicest, most polite, easy to talk to, accessible players in recent memory for the Chiefs. And he always, you can tell by body language, everything else, makes a point to make himself available after games, win or lose.
And that's big.
To talk, but there's not a whole lot of losing, but to talk. He'll talk to multiple reporters. He always, you could tell that he's listening to the question and tries to give a thoughtful answer. And like when I said, because I had a poor choice of words, I said, these games always come down to the wire, but how to feel to get a little bit more of a comfortable win, and it's never comfortable, not with that quarterback, and even in the fourth quarter, But he's very. I don't know. He's a really good dude.
Respectful, thoughtful. Yeah.
But you can see how good of a teammate he is, and how the rest of the players love him. But we appreciate that he's always available to talk, and it's a really good interview. And just you wonder, after every game, oh, St. John caught up with Mike Dana again. But you know what? It's like, hey, I want to talk to him because he's gonna give me some good stuff there and give me real answers. And so just that note. So that's a guy that you root for, and he is on his way to having a career year in this Chiefs defense. Back after this on WHB.